The Middle East has always been a region where history meets tension, where alliances are fragile, and where the world watches, often holding its breath. But right now, something feels different. The air is charged. Every headline, every sudden troop movement, every whispered rumor seems to point in one direction. The region is teetering on the edge. And the question on everyone's mind is chilling. Are we on the brink of a regional war? Before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. The story unfolding here isn't just news. It's a live, fast-moving drama with consequences that could touch every corner of the globe. Let's start with the flashpoints, the places where tension could ignite. Take the northern borders of Israel, for example. Recent intelligence reports suggest an increase in cross-border activity. Militias, armed factions, and local governments are all positioning themselves not randomly, but strategically. It's a complex chessboard, and every move could have cascading consequences. Now, consider Iran. For years, the world has debated Iran's regional ambitions, its nuclear program, and its influence in neighboring countries. Lately, intelligence analysts have noticed movements that suggest preparation for possible escalation. Missile tests, troop exercises, and increased rhetoric in state media. Each one alone might not be alarming, but together, they paint a picture that's hard to ignore. And it's not just about conventional armies. Proxy forces are already in play. From Yemen to Syria, Iran-backed groups have quietly expanded their presence, challenging established powers. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia and its allies have been responding with their own maneuvers, often in silence, often calculated, always vigilant. You don't need to be a military strategist to see the tension building. You can feel it, even from thousands of miles away. What makes this particularly precarious is timing. The world is distracted by economic turmoil, by political debates, by conflicts elsewhere. A border skirmish, an airstrike, a misinterpreted signal, and suddenly the fragile balance shatters. Even beyond borders, the stakes are global. Oil markets, trade routes, and strategic maritime choke points are all intertwined with Middle Eastern stability. A flare-up could ripple across the world economy overnight. Tankers could be delayed, energy prices could spike, and nations that rely on imports could feel the shock almost immediately. This isn't just a regional problem, it's a global risk. Let's talk about the human dimension. Millions of lives hang in the balance. Families who have lived under the shadow of conflict for generations could be pushed into the next chapter of violence. Refugee flows, humanitarian crises, and displacement are not hypothetical. They are a grim reality that escalates with every provocation. The political and economic chessboard is deadly, but behind it are human stories that can't be ignored. What makes this moment even more volatile is the unpredictability of leadership. Decisions made in moments of tension can ripple far beyond the initial intent. One impulsive move, one misjudged threat, and what might have been a contained confrontation could become an uncontrollable conflict. And in today's hyper-connected world, every statement, every movement, and every tweet is amplified, analyzed, and reacted to in real time. And these aren't actors following a script. These are nations, armed groups, and individuals making choices that could shape the world. The balance is delicate, and the warning signs are everywhere, if you know where to look. Any of these could be the spark that ignites a larger confrontation, and the world will be watching, sometimes too late to intervene, sometimes scrambling to respond after the fact. For now, the situation remains tense, uncertain, and charged with possibility. But one thing is clear, ignoring the signs won't make them disappear. This is a moment where vigilance, understanding, and awareness are not optional. They are essential. And as we continue to monitor the developments, one question remains at the forefront. So the flashpoint that could trigger a chain reaction no one wants, but that might be impossible to prevent. Let's consider the human factor again, because wars don't start on maps. They start in decisions made by people. Leaders in the region are under pressure, both from internal factions and external powers. They face complex choices every day, when to escalate, when to negotiate, and when to step back. And history shows us that even a single misstep can set off a cascade of consequences that no one planned for. And then there are the alliances. In today's Middle East, alliances aren't simple. They're layered, sometimes contradictory, and often fragile. One country's defensive move can be interpreted as another country's provocation. Every military exercise, every weapons transfer. The role of technology adds another layer of unpredictability. Drones, cyber attacks, and precision missiles mean that conflicts can escalate faster than ever before. Decisions that might once have taken weeks or months now unfold in hours, leaving less room for diplomacy, for dialogue, for cooling tensions. And once that first strike happens, it can be nearly impossible to control the fallout. Meanwhile, the people on the ground, civilians, bear the heaviest burden. Families who have already lived through cycles of conflict know the fear that comes with each new headline. And yet, in the midst of all this, ordinary people continue to live, work, and hope that their leaders will find a path back from the brink. There's also the role of global powers, because a regional war in the Middle East is never just local. Nations from the USA, the UK, and beyond are invested, not only in strategic interests, but in preventing a conflict that could spiral out of control. But here's the challenge. External powers can deter, influence, or mediate, but they can't completely control the decisions of regional actors. And the more countries become involved, the greater the risk of miscommunication and unintended escalation. Every troop deployment keeps the world on edge. Experts warn that this is a period of extreme volatility, a time when small sparks could ignite a fire that spreads far beyond the borders of the Middle East. Yet, even in this tension, there is room for hope. Diplomacy, back-channel negotiations, and international pressure can still make a difference. Leaders can step back, rethink strategies, and choose restraint over aggression. History has shown that even in the most volatile situations, dialogue and patience can prevent the worst outcomes. But the window for action is narrowing. As we watch these developments unfold, it's impossible not to feel a mix of fear and urgency. The Middle East is standing at a crossroads. One path leads to escalation, chaos, and suffering. The other offers the possibility of containment, negotiation, and stability. But choosing that path requires clarity, courage, and perhaps a recognition that the stakes are far greater than politics. They are about lives, livelihoods, and the future of an entire region. So what should we take away from all of this? First, awareness matters. The Middle East is not a distant story. It is connected to global stability, trade, and security. Second, the actions of individuals, leaders, and nations all matter in shaping the trajectory of this moment. And finally, hope is not naive, it's necessary. Even in the face of mounting tension, there are ways to prevent the worst if the right decisions are made at the right time. In the end, the question remains, will the region find its balance, or will it slide into a conflict that could engulf more than just the Middle East? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the eyes of the world are watching, and the consequences of this moment will resonate far beyond the desert sands, across oceans and continents, touching every one of us in ways we may not yet understand. If you found this analysis insightful and want to stay on top of these developments as they unfold, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. The Middle East is at a turning point, and staying informed has never been more important. Don't miss the next update. You'll want to understand what happens next.